What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Ultimate Down Ninja channel. We're doing season 2, part 1 of What If Deku was transported to danmachi, the long-awaited, it's literally been 2 weeks, season that you guys actually, I think it's closer to 3. God, yeah, I made y'all wait. Of What If Deku was transported to danmachi. If you're new to this series, don't worry, you don't have to sit through all 15 parts of the series. I made a nice little review that capsizes over most of the major events. If you want some simpler dialogue between characters, seeing how characters interact, and character development, especially on the Aizen Deku storyline, then go ahead and go watch through the series, because I kind of didn't go into that. But we're gonna jump straight into this. What if? So, it's been about 2 weeks since Izuku and Aiz officially had gone together. Izuku was pretty naturally calm, especially because tomorrow night there was a full moon, and they were apparently doing a festival called the New Moon Festival, which, kind of confused Izuku, of course, because, it's not usually a common thing for Aurelio to have festivals. He found it to be weird and kind of confusing. Especially because, well, as it was previously stated, festivals aren't common. Izuku asked Aiz if she wanted to go, and she replied with yes. Him and Aiz both ended up getting their stuff together. Aiz was in less battle gear and much more of a favorable dress, while Izuku went into basic gear. He asked Aiz why she went with a dress, which caused Aiz to blush, thinking that it was common for girls on dates to go in dresses. Izuku laughed and told her, well, yes, you aren't incorrect, but walking around in a dress all night might be a little bit annoying. Which Aiz laments and thought about, and decided to change it. Of course, after some time, after she changed, she ended up coming back out. Well, saying that she changed would be a little bit too nice. 'Cause what she really tried to do was more or less cut off the bottom of the dress to make it more akin to her armor. Which Izuku found it quite laughable, but of course went there to laugh at his girlfriend. Her and Izuku both got together and decided to start heading out. They walked up to the festival. Lights were adorning the street as people passed by them. Izuku and Aiz hanged out and played some games for some time. It was all very simple, nice, and neat, and wasn't much of an issue at all. Izuku liked being able to hang out and have time with Aiz. Even though their relationship hasn't gone too far past that, they would occasionally do hand-holding, but nothing else past. Izuku and Aiz both looked around trying to see what was going on, how it was, and, well, how it was going. Of course, Izuku ended up walking around. He saw a man. This man was very confusing to Izuku, adorning himself in orange hair as well as having a type of hat on. This hat having a feather in it. The man was standing on top of the stage, nearby what appeared to be a spear of sorts, or what would be assumed to be a sphere. The man shouted, come on, come on! All these brave adventurers try to pluck the spear from its pedestal. Only the worthy, and those that are true heroes, can do it. Izuku thought of this for a second, but decided not to go up there. He was on a date with Aiz. He didn't need to prove himself any more of a hero. He already know what a true hero was, and no matter what, no one could shake his foundry beliefs. Of course, after some time, a man went up there and tried to pull the spear. Izuku saw as the man's face started to contort as he tried to pull out the spear out of the stone with all of his might, until eventually the man fell onto the ground, exasperating, breathing heavily in and out as he got up and walked away. Eventually, more people tried it out, and Izuku was starting to get annoyed. He was about to go up there when suddenly the man on the stage saw someone and pointed out. He pointed to a boy that Izuku knew very well. It was no other than Bell. "Ah, Bell Canal! Why don't you come up here and try to pull out this spear? I heard that you want to be an aspiring hero, don't you, young boy?" Bell was kind of confused, because Bell really didn't know Hermes. There was no reason for him to know Hermes at this point. But nonetheless, he went up there. Hestia, of course, that was there, knew Hermes, and spotted Deku. She knew that Deku and Aiz helped train Bell a lot, and also knew that Deku and Aiz were in a congruent relationship. She walked over to try to conversate with them. "Hello." "Oh, hi Hestia. It's been a while, hasn't it?" "Yeah, Bell's up there currently." "Yeah, I know. Are you guys on a date or something walking around?" Which caused Hestia to blush, which confused Izuku, but he almost laughed at the innocence that was displayed. Afterwards, Hestia said, "No, not right now. But, currently, that guy, his name is Hermes up there." "Oh, Hermes, the god of travel and trade, right? Also known as the messenger's god, the messenger god." "Yes. Kind of weird for you to know so much about him." Izuku kind of almost cringed at him releasing that much information that quickly. He was just all caught up in the festival thing. He tried to keep his stuff very secretive, but he had a bad issue of getting caught up in the moment from time to time. Izuku then coughed and said, "Oh, I heard about him. A lot. People around the city talk about him. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. He's pretty much a trickster as well. Not really the best person out of the bunch of apples that you can meet, but he's alright to say the least." Izuku went along with it, acting like he knew. Aiz, on the other hand, could tell that Izuku was bullshitting at this point, but decided not to intervene, thinking that Izuku obviously had to have a reason for lying. There was no reason for him to choose to lie in front of a goddess, but if he had his reasons, he would. Eventually, looking up there, they saw that Bell was finally about to pull the spear out of the rock. He was tugging and pulling really hard, when suddenly Bell looked kind of dazed and confused as the spear randomly left the ground, out of the rock. This caused Hermes to have a slight smile, as then Bell looked at the sphere. He knew that it was his to take, that was kind of the deal in general. And he thought it was a pretty cool looking artifact. It looked amazing. Suddenly, Hermes then said, "And the winner gets to meet the goddess who that spear used to belong to, or belongs to." And out of nowhere, suddenly a blue-haired woman appeared at the back of the crowd. The crowd cleared way, of course, for this woman. Izuku was confused about the woman. He didn't know the woman from anywhere. Definitely didn't know the woman at all. But he looked at the girl more and more. Suddenly, the girl decided to sprint towards Bell and jump on him, claiming Bell to be hers. Which kind of confused everyone else there, as they all, obviously, kind of got caught off guard. Eventually, after some later explaining, thanks to Hermes, Bell understood that the goddess in front of him, and so did Izuku, knew that it was the goddess Artemis. Of course, you know, that could have been given away by most people. And that the spear, after Bell looked at it, after Izuku looked at it, could tell that it looked more of an arrow than a spear, which caused Izuku to be very confused. Eventually, they all ended up walking over. Bell, Hestia, and Eyes. Hestia was pretty quiet at that time. Was shocked to see her friend come back like there was no issue. Of course, Izuku didn't know who this person was, and of course couldn't determine their importance. But Hestia went to greet her old friend with a very caring and smiling mood, and hugged the very, well, not too big goddess, and tried to, well, ring her around, being shocked that she was there. Izuku walked over to Bell, and Bell was just sitting there still kind of surprised that a random girl just jumped on him. Then again, Izuku couldn't blame the boy for thinking that, so he decided to try to give words of advice and encouragement to the boy, telling him, well, looks like you got yourself another one. This made Hermes laugh, who Izuku remembered was there. Of course, Hermes dragged Bell off as well as Hestia, but Izuku couldn't help to be slightly curious and came with Bell, of course. He wasn't a member of the Hestia Familia or anything like that, and was actually a part of the Loki, which tended to be outright against Hestia. But, of course, Izuku was pretty good friends with Bell, and he knew that this god was not the best of men, to put it in the nicest perspective that Izuku could phrase it in. Of course, Eyes came along. Hermes looked at the group of 4 people, plus the additional goddess and himself. Hermes sighed, as he then stated, Bell, I am Hermes. How do you do? Bell then stated his name, and was confused on why Hermes acted this way. His goddess then filled in that Hermes is the god of all the listed divinities earlier, and stated that he was also well known for being kind of an asshole, which Hermes took as a joking remark and slapped his chest like he had just been shot and took a step back. Of course, he then took a deep bow once more and tipped his hat up, looking back towards Hestia, making his adieus. Of course, Hermes was confused by the other 2 presences, seeing how he had known of the Sword Princess, but he didn't know of the boy standing next to the Sword Princess. But seeing how they were holding hands at the time, Hermes just assumed that it was the Sword Princess's lover, which was pretty big information on its own, and could easily stir uproar in most situations and most of the city, you know. So, Hermes looked towards Bell and said, Bell, we need to get a mission done. I'll give you details of the mission later, but that's kind of like a bonus prize that spear came with. Izuku then questioned Hermes on this and said, that's an arrow, correct? Not a spear? And that almost caused, well, Hermes to stop in place, and caused almost everyone to look at Izuku. And Izuku said, hey, I'm a weapons buff when it comes to history and stuff. I also know pretty good and well the structure of a spear. And if that is a spear, that's a horribly made spear for one. The weight would be off and the balance would be horrible. Now, for 2, I can also tell multiple different fiends are wrong about it. Now, likewise, if it was an arrow, the event would make sense. It has fletching, or what appears to be fletching on the back, and the front, even though it has a little bit extra on there, appears to make out an arrowhead shape. This caused Artemis, as well as Hermes, to both shudder in fear for a second, as Deku then put his palm to his head and released a deep sigh. So, I'm guessing this has something to do with Artemis, which is the goddess of hunting. And this new moon festival, which obviously I have never heard of, was actually a setup to get Belle to draw that spear, or arrow, if we want to keep framing it as a spear. And it's related to Artemis in some way, seeing how she didn't exist until after Belle had drawn the sphere. Hermes wanted to know, how is Izuku putting this together so well? And Izuku says, I talk to myself a lot, as well as I tend to think to myself a lot. Putting together conclusions on enemies' awareness and stuff is kind of one of my specialties. I tend to understand things pretty quickly as well. So, understanding what you're stating, that means that Artemis is probably not the actual Artemis. Most likely something that was created when Belle drew the arrow. And the real Artemis is actually in danger. And you needed someone that ranked as a true hero to help save her. Or, worst case scenario, end her misery. But, thinking from what I've heard of you and seeing how Artemis, or at least this clone of Artemis, doesn't seem to have much issue with the current events, I believe it's going to be save and not murder. Hermes laughed and, acting like it was all a joke, looked towards Izuku. He gave a glaring eye to Izuku, thinking that the boy was pretty intelligent. Almost too intelligent. Pulling tricks over this one will be quite hard in the future, he thought. Izuku sighed once again. Afterwards, he felt very, very kind of annoyed. Understanding everything that happened was one thing, but then applying that to actually what's going on, he understood that Belle, being his trainer and everything, wasn't at the capability to fight anything that was strong enough that we needed a true hero for. Don't get me wrong, Belle unlocked Argadon as well as other things, but unless if this arrow has a unique property that would let him actually kill something or do something else to a creature, it would not seem to be proven futile. With Deku's sigh once again, Isis decided to smile, almost kind of like a cheeky smirk. She was proud, knowing that Izuku was intelligent enough to figure out an entire plot that unfolded before their very eyes. Izuku also felt weird. His senses felt kind of heightened, almost unnaturally. And that's where we're going to leave this episode off, guys. oh god, my bad. I forgot to do this earlier, and that's my personal bad. I'm going to shout out people that joined my Discord in between episodes. So, thank you, Lady Sillshot 2.0, LJ, Dragonson, Lana, and Grim Foxy. Thank you all for joining the Discord. If you guys want to join the Discord, it's down in the link below. There will be a Minecraft event. Hopefully it will actually work and not be a butt face and be uploaded to the channel, to my second channel, my gaming channel. If you guys didn't know, I had that link in the description down below as well. Next Sunday or Saturday, A or B. I would have to iron it out and check out the date on my schedule. But if you want to do it and you want to join the Discord DM me, and if there's an open spot, I'll let you join. And that's all for now, folks. Until next time, goodbye.